Good morning, everybody. Nikamata, right here, right now, in the present of now. Welcome back to another episode. And this episode is very, very interesting, different than all the others because we have a special guest, an amazing, amazing woman that has a lot to share. And with her story, the hope is to help as many people as possible there to their journey. So let's introduce here Thais. Welcome in the
Thank you so
podcast.
much. Thank you, Nick. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yes, definitely. So all the idea, and we just had a little introduction. We never met before, we never spoke before, but we already find a lot of common ground, common and amazing connection. So I'm very excited for to know your story more and some talks about some interesting things. So you say you're from Canada.
Yes. So I'm born and raised in Ontario, and then my husband and I live on the east coast of Canada now, in a place called Prince Edward Island. It's sort of like a little small province, quiet place, sort of a sleepy area, and lots of nature, and that's what I love. So we spend half the year there, and then we spend the half the year just outside of Austin, in a place called Lago Vista, and yeah, I really enjoy being there as well.
So from like a nice, quiet, beautiful east of Canada to Texas. So that's very interesting lifestyle. I'm jealous. We just spent with my wife a year in Maine for work from one of my company, and it was nature is unbelievable. But like it's quiet. It's very quiet place where um for us, but nature is essentials.
Yeah.
Nature help us a lot. I have a quick story to share that happened basically 2 days ago. I had some back pain because I was sitting too much working, and I had some stomach issues. I wasn't feeling my 100% as usual. I'm very energetic, very active. I believe you already feel that. And I wasn't feeling my fully myself. So it's like I'll go take for a walk. So it was like around 8 in the morning. I went for a walk, and there's a little park near here that has some back road. I went inside. I almost felt like a jungle. It was in the middle of nature. So I took my shoes off. I took my socks off. I grounded myself for about 5 minutes. I didn't really meditate, but I was like in myself for 5 minutes. I walked back. I came back. I was totally another person. When there was I saw something that says you need to be grounded to take all the acidity in your body out. I don't know if it was that. I know because I needed that, but it cured me. I feel myself again.
Yeah, and I think nature has a lot of gifts to show us, right? Like there's a lot of sort of messages in nature and how to be still and how to be present and so many different things to pay attention to in nature, I think. But I'm the same way. I mean, I honestly don't even like big cities too much. I'm more of a like stay outside of the city, like have a lot of trees and live near water. Like that's definitely my favorite.
Tree. There's nothing more beautiful than trees. I grew up in Italy, in the south part of Italy, called Puglia. It's the heel of the boot, and they have this over 100 years old olive trees. They grow as a heart. You can Google it, olive tree in Puglia, and there's majestic, there's beautiful, there's a lot to tell, and there's so magnificent that you say, wow, how this is, nature is art, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what brought you originally to the US then?
My wife, of course. I met my wife over 7 years ago, and we start talking, we start messaging in our busy life, and slowly and naturally, if you believe in coincidences, they're made there for a reason. And after 4 years of long distance relationship, I say, okay, I'm coming. I quit
Wow,
my
that's so
business.
cute.
I quit all my life in Italy, say goodbye to my friends and family, and moved here. And it was quite of a journey. That's why, share with podcasts with everybody, because every journey has something, every story, everything happen in life. There's something behind to tell us what's going on, a secret, a secret that we can use and this is all my purpose now, to share as much as possible in my life to help other people. And I know you have an amazing story about how you end up in all your life, in what creates your now your values.
Yes. So, I mean, I guess I'll share a little bit about it, but I grew up in a household where there was sort of like a lot of chaos, I guess would be an easy way of summarizing it. And I think there was just a lot of things. I was definitely a very sensitive child, very sensitive person, really in touch with my emotions at a young age. And I think I just kind of internalized and sponged everything up and didn't know how to process stuff. And so I sort of had an outlet growing up, which was to play soccer. I got a soccer scholarship to a D1 school and all these things when I was a teenager. But just before one of my scouting years, it was just going into the start of 10th grade for me. I had knee surgery. And right after my knee surgery, I just like got addicted to opiates. Like I just kept
Oh,
taking them,
wow.
using them. And, had somebody in our school who was like in our high school who was selling them. And, it just sort of slippery slope for all the different things. And it was funny because like prior to that point, I was doing really well in school and I was kind of like a high achiever personality. And I was watching myself kind of unfold through this whole experience, going, like, who am I becoming? Like what's wrong with me that I can't sort of stop this? So I would try to do all these things to sort of stop because I knew I had this dependency. And I was so young at the time. And it's like something was happening to me that I didn't even understand yet. Like it was like, I didn't feel like I had any sort of control. So I would journal and I would write, like, I'm going to avoid this girl in the hall. I'm going to like, all these different things I would write out and journal and go back and back through. And, it just seemed like whatever I was trying to do, I would tell myself, this is the last day, this is the last time. And I would keep recycling through the same path, through the same
Hmm.
pattern. And it's really like, I think out of everything related to addiction, like that's, at least for me in my journey, that was one of the hardest parts is you feel like you're every day you're telling yourself, I'm going to stop, I'm going to do this thing. And every day you kind of fail yourself. And it spiraled into a lot of like self-loathing and frustration. And it kind of just made everything worse and worse. Anyways, I was relatively high functioning still and made it to school. And in my first year, I had somebody say in one of my classes to me, like, oh, the conscious mind cannot outwill or overpower the subconscious mind. And
Mm.
I heard that and it was like, oh my goodness, this is telling me my experience every day. Because every day my conscious mind is like, this is the last time, this is the last day I'm doing this. And every day my subconscious mind is really choosing a different path for me and it's trying to keep numbing pain. And so it really unlocked all of this like I just got so obsessed with learning about the subconscious mind from that point forward because I felt like I kind of held the key to like what I was looking for healing and for answers. And so I got really, really like into eat, live, breathe, like read all the books, watch all of the podcasts, like all of my spare time was just like revolving around this. And I ended up going into like a hypnotherapy certification and all this other stuff while I was sort of in school. And then just got really into personal development in general. And it actually was extremely healing for me because, up until that point, I had tried rehab. I had tried a whole bunch of different things. I had been to NA classes, AA meetings, like all these different things, and nothing was really getting me momentum. And when I understood that like my subconscious mind had stored subconscious pain, and when I go in there and I process that pain and those wounds and those fears and I work through stuff, that now I don't need to rely on a symptom healer, right? Or not even healer,
Exactly.
but symptom repressor. And I don't have to rely on a painkiller to numb pain because I'm actually in a place where I feel at home within myself. And so that for me was like a huge transformation and definitely something I'm super, super grateful for. But that sort of took me into my journey. And then after working with clients for quite a, I went through school, all this stuff. When I started working with clients, I did that for the next 6 years or so. And then ended up opening PDS, which is like an online school with all these different
Oh.
courses. And we really got into like the attachment theory sort of niche around my 7th year in practice. And I guess that was like about 3 or 4 years ago now. So it's been my journey for the last 10 years. I've been eat, live, breathing this stuff, but that's sort of the space that we're in now. We talk a lot about actually relationships in the subconscious mind and our different subconscious patterns we have there.
That's incredible story, and I love stories, that tell us. But I heard a lot of good bullet keys and points that I want to explore with you. But first of all, I love soccer too. I grew up in Italy, so that's amazing. We should play soccer sometimes. So finally, I have somebody that can play soccer. But I want to focus a little bit on the energy after. And I saw when your all your expression lights up when you said it. Uh, when there is a point when you discover this new subconscious idea to follow, and all your energy start to expand, and you feel like you had a lot of energy to put into there. How amazing that when you discover something that can help you and become that can fulfill that void. Imagine an excavator with a big load, and you see a pothole or something, a hole in there. Just you start dumping all your energy in there. It's fascinating how you have that energy, and can be connect to, for example, a depression when there's low energy. Find that spark that can lights up all your gas that you have inside there. Your gas. So you imagine full of gasoline, and you just a quick spark in there, it completely explode over your energy. This is beautiful, beautiful to see that, and it's a common thing.
Yeah. So something that's so interesting. So something I ended up studying for a little while was our subconscious mind and its needs. And something I learned is that we all have different subconscious needs, and they're usually generated by places that we have an absence of what we were looking for in childhood, or at least like earlier parts of our lives. And so it's so interesting. And for me, that version was like, I didn't have a lot of tools growing up for like healthy modeling of relationships or communication, or how to address problems or work through conflict, or, all these things. So when I got into the personal growth space, it was like, oh my gosh, I'd been sort of starving for this. And so it was a big subconscious personality need. And it's super interesting because you'll find that when we're in our subconscious personality needs, we tend to light up. We tend to, like, when we're in alignment, right, with this stuff, we'll light up, we'll get
Exactly.
excited. Well, even like one of the descriptors that I often use for people is, we can be sitting and we can be tired. Like, you could be sitting, like, maybe you're traveling or whatever, and you're tired, you've had a long day, and then somebody comes along to you and they talk about something related to this, and you're like, whoa, my energy is back. But it's like the importance of discovering like who we are deep down and what we're actually looking for and what's really important to us, and then getting into alignment with that. I think that's how we get this sort of everlasting energy in our lives more so.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Our body, it's such a powerful machine, so powerful that if you find the right, if the brain start to, no matter how tired you are, the
Yeah.
brain can always find a solution to create a chemistry to get you more energy. And that's why I connect with depression, because depression is totally the opposite. Like, you don't want to do nothing, you wake up and you're really tired, you want to go stay in bed. But when you find that trigger that can help the brain to create that, and it completely lights up. And an example, it's my wife that she's a professional dancer, so she loved dancing,
Oh,
moving
cool.
around that. So in her business, sometimes she have a long day of work, all working all day, and she has a dance lessons in the afternoon that loved it. She worked with couples, so they're favorites, um, because they're cute, they're in love and all that kind of stuff. So she really into that. And you find the last is a cute couple. She come back with so much energy and it's insane. I'm like, okay, it's 9 a.m. Why 9 p.m. Why you so excited about it? Okay, I got it. We need to cool down so we can go to bed. It's like, no, let's go out. Let's have a drink somewhere. It's like, that's fascinating how it can be totally different if same scenario for somebody. If you tell me to dance at 9 p.m., I'm just like, I almost ready to go to bed, but sure, we can do that compared to let's do it. So, and let's bring to me on the difference between each person out there. So, what could be maybe a common things that you can see for all these different people? What you think
Yeah.
could be a common example, a common uh, interaction that you can explain?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about the subconscious mind, and there's these like subconscious personality needs that we all have, if anybody's ever trying to figure out what theirs are, because, like, it's interesting, you and I are sort of in this like field, and we know a lot about ourselves probably because we probably spend a lot of our waking time
Yes.
reflecting and like, trying to realize these different things. But for people who are less familiar or who are just like getting their feet wet and like understanding this stuff, there's actually some questions you can ask yourself to try to discover what those personality needs are. So where you're going to feel most in alignment. And one of the first ones is like, how do you spend your free time? Right? Like our subconscious mind,
Yes.
yeah, our subconscious mind is responsible for 95 to 97% of our beliefs, our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, right? So our conscious thinking self, like the self identity that we think of as ourselves, the ones that we think is making the decisions, is really making decisions 3 to 5% of the time, which is very small, right? It's like our subconscious
Yeah.
mind is really the one running the show. And so when you have your subconscious mind, you're trying to discover what's going on there. Well, in your spare time, you're always going to gravitate towards the things that you love. So for some people, that's like filling their social schedule and having like tons of time with like friends or community or family. For other people, they tend to have like one or two closer friends and they tend to really value like emotional connection. If you're always reading about personal growth or listening to personal growth podcasts, you might have personality needs around personal development or personal growth or healing. Or for people who are really into like meditation or mindfulness, like maybe it's more about spirituality. And so we can look at like how we naturally spend our free time. And it's interesting because everything we do is telling us about ourselves. So when
Hmm.
we are spending our free time doing things, another big question to ask yourself if you're trying to find these subconscious needs is like, how do you spend your money? So if because we spend our
Amazon.
money, yeah. Is that your wife who spends all the money on Amazon or you?
Oh, yeah. Now it's paying more me. I don't know. Prime is addictive, but yeah, definitely, definitely.
So
But yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry. So you'll see like how we spend our money. It's not even just like Amazon, it's like what you're buying on Amazon. So
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
me, like I got really into health the past few years. So for me, like I'll buy a ton of supplements. I'll actually buy a lot of supplements on Amazon for sure. Or like books about health, right? Or books about personal growth or development. So you'll see like where we spend our money are the things that our subconscious is the most drawn to. What would you say yours are? Like when you buy on Amazon, what do you buy on there?
No, I'm saying it's not just Amazon. A lot of people, and this is something that it's perfect to talk about because when you ask those questions, the details of what's matter. Because I spend time, what you want, for example, what you do in your free time, and it happened on my coaching was like, oh yeah, if I don't work, I just go out. What do you mean by go out? So exactly in this example, what do you buy? And and I want to share with you with my uh, authenticity of Italian. I just bought from Amazon and pasta maker, so that's what I spend the money on, non pasta makers. But yeah, yeah, that
And
could be a trigger because I miss Italy probably. I'm not sure what
so
one day this thing.
So what you would do is you would dig into it, right? So you'd be like, what does that mean to me? So is the pasta maker about like the comfort and familiarity of home? Or for somebody else, the pasta maker might be about like if you really care about special pasta that you make for health, or it could be related to health, or it could be related to fitness if it was this special, healthy pasta maker. So it's like it's everything that we do, right? If we say like, oh, we watch this television show, we buy this book, we buy this sort of thing. It's like, well, what does that mean to us personally? Like, what is it about that is getting a need met? And so you'll see
Mhm.
that's how you can relate back to it. So for you, is it something to do with health, or is it to do with like the comfort and familiarity of home?
Pretty much both, and now that you make me think, but it's more of health. Health. I love. We made an amazing pesto pasta last weekend, and it was amazing. And you can't find nothing like that around. So I grew up in. My parents were farmer, so I grew up in an amazing atmosphere with connecting with the ground, with the soil. I think fresh vegetables, you just kitchen hacks straight, super fresh from the morning. So you have all this, and my mom is an amazing cook, so it was amazing growing up with that. And now you can't really relate to that because you go to Walmart, and I just bought eggs from Walmart, and they taste weird. I don't know why. Their taste is weird. It's like why, what's going on? Why it doesn't taste like egg? So I'm trying always to find solution to that. So how can I find fresh eggs instead of go buy from Walmart or whatever it is? And one of this is I want to make fresh pasta. I don't want to buy
Yeah.
anymore. I try to always buy imported pasta from Italy, but it's hard to find. So it's like, oh, it's so simple. I would just flour, eggs, and water, and then it's done. So why don't you make one? That's is connected with health because I don't know if I shared with you a story. I'm, you know, personal development. That's one of my biggest because I always asking questions and I need to find answers of what this journey is about. But the one it's wellness, health. Be
Yeah.
healthy, be strong. All my grandparents, my parents are diabetics and
Oh, wow.
suffer of hurts. They get tons of pills. My grandparents are like 10 pills a day because this one make your blood pressure down. And this is to don't get too down the blood pressure, but since the blood pressure is down, now you need something to help the flow so your kidney doesn't suffer. So this is for the kidney. This it's like it's all connected. So you take something that can destroy other stuff and you need to take other pills to help that. It's a freaking circle that never end because that's, what's pharmaceutical one that you buy as many as pills you want. So
100%.
it's a business for them. And probably, they're trying to help and it's the only way they can see, but it's a business. They need to sell pills.
And I think I don't know if you remember, I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm in my sort of early to mid 30s. And I remember watching as a kid, and it was sort of like this era of the pharmaceutical commercials. And I remember seeing the first commercial, and it was like, take this medication for headaches, and it was like, may cause death, strokes, seizures, and it goes on and on. And I remember being a kid thinking, like, oh, is this a joke? Like, is this like
This
a
is
comic?
funny.
And like, is this supposed to be a joke? Like, is it a trick? Like, why would somebody take this for headaches when like these are the risks involved? And I think I was like a maybe 12 or something at the time. And I remember thinking like, this is so confusing. And I understand that there's people out there who have conditions and that they have to rely on things. Like I get that, right? Like in some cases, that sort of like big pharma industrial sort of
Hmm. Hmm.
can have value and benefit, especially for like, life or death kind of experiences. But I'm definitely with you on we spend a lot of time as a
Yeah,
society treating
yeah,
symptoms instead of the root cause for things. And if we're not at least treating the root cause, whether it's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, like if we're not digging into that at the same time and we're not trying to really uproot what's going on there, like if you're taking something for migraines, well, why do you have a migraine? What's going on that's causing you to have a migraine? Let's work
yeah,
on that
yeah.
too. And so I think from a health perspective, but also obviously a mental health perspective, when we look at these things, like it's okay to treat symptoms for a period of time as long as, in my opinion, we're also doing the underlying work. And I think that's where a lot of our society can go wrong right now. And the sad part, I'm sure as you've seen, is that things compound, right? They don't get easier when we treat the symptoms for
Nope.
a long time.
Nope, 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 no. That's the major problem. And what creates a culture around this, like the Coca-Cola advertising about, the Santa Claus. Then now it's Santa Claus. It's such a major Christmas idols. So it creates the same. It's passed through generation. Oh yeah, my mom every time got, you know, a cycle, get headaches, you get, ibuprofen or whatever it takes for
Yeah.
medication so it doesn't have any pain. But pain is such a blessing.
Oh my goodness.
It's like there's this person that has a condition that can feel pain, and he can every day can literally die for simple things because it doesn't feel it. Pain is so important. That's why it's there. That's why our body. It's almost you're driving a car and see engine lights or the gas lights gone. That's so much amazing indication. Oh, there's something wrong. Let's put a black tape on top of the the red engine light so I don't see it. It's like, no, you need to go get gas. You need to go fix your car. So,
I
and most of the time, 80% of the time, we that the lack of something in the headaches is a lack of something that we don't give to our body. because of food, of course. 100 years ago, our food was so different than now that it's definitely our body is trying. Like I said before, our body is such an amazing machine at trying to still make it work. You smoke for 10 years, it'll still make you
Oh yeah,
walking every day.
I
It's
love it.
fascinating for me.
And you know what I think happened? I think that not only did we stop listening to pain and stop seeing it as the feedback, and this isn't just physical, this is emotional, right? When we feel sad, when we feel upset, when we feel negative, it's a gift for us, right? There's something there to discover if we're willing to pay attention and listen and get still and ask the right questions, right? Why am I feeling this way? What have I been thinking about lately? What needs are not being met in my life right now that's causing me to feel sad or anxious or whatever it is that we're feeling? And I feel like we lost touch with that. And then we, on top of that, learn to fear pain, right? And like you said
Yes.
yourself, like pain is a gift. And not only did we stop listening to that feedback, but then we also were like, oh, pain is bad. Pain is exclusively negative. We should, get rid of pain. And
Avoid it. Yeah.
exactly. And so we lose the ability to go inwards and actually feel like what's happening here for me, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical. And it's funny because so in our I have a little school, and in our school we do these like webinars with our students all the time. And one of the conversations that I'll get people to have with themselves, like one of the exercises is I'll say, look, like, what are the benefits of pain? Like, write out all the benefits of pain. Because
Yeah.
if we're so scared to feel, then we're going to lose touch with ourselves. And when we feel pain, it's telling us what to go away from, what we don't like. It tells if a boundary's been crossed, or if a need's not met, or if we've been hard on ourselves in the way we're talking to ourselves. But like when we don't see the benefits and we don't see it as a gift, we get scared to even feel at all. And then we lose touch with the whole process. And I think that like, when you talk, I just love the tape on the over top of the light on your
Just
car.
put
I
a
love
tape over
that.
there. Yeah. And that's fine.
I
And
mean, don't
and
look. Whatever you do, don't look at it. Like it's the it's the fear. And so we fear our own pain and we lose touch with ourselves as a byproduct of that. I really believe that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I can recognize now that every time now after all my journey, that the pain in any sense, psychological pain, sadness, depression is a signal. It's an alarm that make you that it's bring you far away from who you are. There's an image out there that you as a fully yourself, when your frequency is so high inside yourself that you're bright, you're peaceful, you're not happy, you're not sad, you're peaceful with yourself. So that image is the goal that a lot of people confuse with, always be happy, never be sad. Or a lot of people confuse to be, well, you need to be on drugs all the time. That's the only way to reach that. No, that's a signal that when you every time you go far away from that state, that mean it's when you need to look at yourself to see, okay, there's something going on. And I have amazing triggers. Speaking of alcohol or drugs, every time I love bourbons. I love whiskey and neat, but every time I want it, that means there's something going on because I don't
Yeah.
drink. I don't really drink, every day or something like that. I drink with friends or stuff like that. But every time I want a nice glass of bourbon, there's something going on. I noticed that. And it's amazing because now I can see that. I was like, oh, I wish I had like a good bullet, 10 years bullet right now. Oh, I want it. And it's like, oh yeah, that's why it happened. Because yesterday I talked with it. There's a problem behind it, and it's you can recognize those triggers. There's your brain wired. Your paradigms. They're connect to that, and then you can why when you recognize it, you can find a solution. I was like, okay, instead of drink that, I'll drink it tomorrow with my friends, but I'll still drink it tonight or still drinking. I go talk to that person or whatever's the issues at the time. But it's fascinating.
I love that. Because what you're talking about is like the craving. So when I first started doing a lot of like self exploration, the whole purpose for me was like, how do I get sober and be okay? And one of the first things I just started with is, I read in some book somewhere. This is a very long time ago now, but this is. I feel like in the last 10 years, the whole like personal development field has really taken off, and it's like more mainstream as well. But for me, this is about like 12 or 14 years ago, and I didn't know anybody who I could talk to about this stuff, right? Like I would read books or like read things on the internet or, and it felt like I was kind of in my own little journey, and I felt a little bit maybe isolated in it at times. But I read in some book like, okay, your subconscious, you'll really get to understand your subconscious through meditation, because when you sit with yourself, you'll be able to observe all the thoughts that come up. So I spend a lot of time sitting with myself, like a lot of time. And, like I do like an hour in the morning, 45 minutes in the afternoon, an hour in the evening.
Hmm.
And it didn't start like that. It got there eventually. But one of the most
First
interesting,
time you sit there looking at the ceiling for an hour and nothing happened.
yeah.
Literally nothing, because there's a lot of big blocks. And this is for, if somebody's listening that's starting this journey, it's not easy to enter in that kind of states. Right now, I can go into meditation states, in very, very quick, because I know how I can bring me there. But the brain, it builds big walls. Imagine some big walls, and you're in the middle of those big walls and trying to escape that. To lower your filters, lower your awareness, you need to go almost in a sleep. When you're asleep, everything gets calmed down. So to recreate that, especially if you're a lot of triggers or alarm going on, it's very hard. But like you say, we need time, we need practice.
Yeah, and so going back to when you were talking about when you crave the whiskey, or and one of the most like eye-opening things when I started sitting with myself there was like, no wonder I'm trying to escape myself all the time, because I wasn't at peace in my mind. So like, research shows, there's a study done at the University of Southern California's Neuroimaging Institute, and they said, okay, they tracked that we roughly have 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. And I would sit with myself for, an hour, and I would be like, oh my gosh, all my thoughts are they're mean to myself. They're all the things I'm
Yeah,
doing wrong, all the things that are going to go wrong, all the things that will never work, all the reasons that my life sucks. Like,
all of
and
it.
I would
Yeah.
go over and over. And then we know that thoughts have this emotional output, right? And made up of neurochemistry, right? So then our thoughts are producing emotions, neurochemical reactions. No wonder I feel depressed. No wonder I don't feel good, because look at how I'm talking to myself, thinking to myself, like, and and so then I crave, that I'm seeking to avoid pain and numb myself out with substances. And no wonder I'm doing that, because at my core, in my inside world, I'm not at peace within myself. So I'm trying to escape myself all day. And that's what, for me, addiction at least was largely revolving around. And so it's so interesting, because you're saying the same thing. And obviously you're not addicted to whiskey or anything like that, but we can observe in ourselves. I think everybody has coping mechanisms, whether it's like binge
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
TV or video games or whatever it is. But like, we can see when we're trying to cope, right? When we're trying to escape ourselves, that, hey, that's actually feedback too. That's actually also when we're longing for something, we're craving, we're trying to like,
Hmm.
we're
Yeah.
yearning for the glass of whiskey, or we're yearning for we got to play the video game and escape ourselves. Well, maybe we're not at peace within ourselves, and maybe even that's feedback for us too. So I love that analogy, but I think that's really on point for sure.
Definitely, definitely. And there's so many, there's so many ways that we can escape, especially nowadays. You can play video games and be connected to everybody. You can really, have drugs, all that kind of area. Alcohol is so open to everybody. Alcohol. A lot of people just drink alcohol and they don't know why. Just like, why am I drinking? It's like I don't know why even I need to drink. And it's all that way to try to escape, but there's can be even less than that. It's can be just obsessionally perfection with cleaning. I saw a lot of people that were addicting with cleaning, and there's no, it doesn't seem too dangerous as alcohol or stuff like that, or smoking or all that kind of, that's so, that's cleaning, it's fine. No, it could be very, very bad, because then you can isolate yourself, because it needs to be too clean, or needs to be all hygienic, it needs sanitizer. Especially with COVID, so many people start to freak out and use so many, what's the gel that you use, the sanitizer.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hated the sensation, and I hated the purpose of sanitizing. But everybody was like, my wife had like 3 or 4 big bucket of sanitizing in the car, and every time I go out, I'm just like, I don't like that, because I need those. bacteria in my hands because most are goods. Some are very, very bad, but they need to fight each other. I prefer the genuine way, not just kill everybody. And so all this, there's a common area that I can see is we always trying to find a different way to escape
Exactly.
that sensation, escape that routine because it's hard to confront it. It's hard to see that sometimes. So,
And the sorry to interrupt you. The thing that I always see with people, because people will ask me sometimes, okay, well, how do I know if I'm coping? Like, Thais, like, what if I just love watching a television show? But sometimes I will find myself binge watching a television show for 7 hours. Like, how, well, how can you tell the difference? Well, what, how do I know I'm not going to sit down for 7 hours and watch a show? How do I know the difference? And I'm always like, well, what is your relationship to it before you do it? That moment or that instant right before you sit down, are you trying to escape? Is your relationship to it from like fear? Like, okay, I got to get out of this feeling that I'm feeling. Let me distract myself with the social media or the TV or whatever it is.
mhm.
The cleaning, or is my relationship to it like healthy, balanced, rooted? Is it coming from truth? Am I like, oh, my house looks a little messy today. I should tidy and that will make me feel good that I'm taking care of myself and my home. Or is it like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious. If I hyper clean everything, it makes me feel in control again. So let me do it from that space. And you can feel
Yeah,
your
yeah,
emotions behind it. And whatever your emotional state is that's motivating the action is telling you, is it truth or is it coping? Are you in this like stressed out space
I,
where you're coping again?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Another good question that doing before, right before we do any pretty much any action is why am I doing that? Look,
Yes.
what's the second purpose? Okay, I need to, I don't know, I need to clean a house. Okay, why am I doing? Oh, so if it's clean, then we can connect that with one of values, highest values. Well, then when my husband come home, my wife comes home, I can see that she's in a clean space and it's organizing, for example, organizes. I love, a clear vision, so I need to organize everything. But why am I cleaning that? I'm not cleaning my desk. I'm cleaning my mind. Because when it's all clean, so what's the behind the action that can help you in benefits?
Exactly.
While you're watching, TV, well, I watch, TV because then I can spend time next to my wife. I love and believe in physical connection more than even with um, energetic connection. So I need to be close to people that I love. So sitting there watching whatever shows, I don't watch much shows, but sitting there, I don't care what's on. I can, stay next to my wife, and that's why. Well, that's worth it. She's been out all day, and it's worth it to be there. What we do in the morning, I'll make the coffee and we go out. Why you need to make a coffee so when she come back, you can sit and talk.
Yeah.
That's another. So there's always what's the real purpose behind that action and why you're doing. So when you start coping, when you start to create those mechanisms that automatically triggers, now I don't have to think to make a coffee to my wife. I automatically do it. It automatically creates those routine that can help you fulfill all that. So automatically my wife comes sitting and outside in our porch and then we talk about the morning and the day and the week and the goals. So I think it's very, very helpful, at least was for me, to create safer routines. So
Yeah.
you start to coping those action and automatically that are successful action, they're a good action for who you really are, what you need, instead
Yeah.
of, you know, hoping that for, a routine, a reason to escape.
I love that. I love that. And it's like the difference between being proactive or reactive, right? It's like the difference between, hey, I'm actually going to set myself up to be proactive about how I want to show up and how I want to design my life because the things that fulfill me instead of I don't feel good, so now I have to do something urgently all of a sudden. And it's interesting too because I'm sure you found this as well, but I find for people like when you do that thing, like from that place of coping, from that place of stress, when you do that thing, it never actually makes the root problem go away. So like if somebody needs to super
Yeah.
clean or they need to, whatever it is because they're trying to, let's say super clean and organized, but to the point of like obviously it's good to have a clean home, but we know what we're talking about when it's like too much, right? Like a little bit obsessive or things like that, usually that person actually has like a wound first, a feeling out of control or helpless. And so they try to cope with that inner wound, that inner subconscious program, by
Yeah.
controlling the external world. But hey, it's not an external world problem. It's our internal world that's making us feel like that to begin with. And so when we can recondition those wounds and we can change that wiring at its core, then we don't treat the symptom of the wound by cleaning,
Exactly.
the root
Exactly.
cause by actually targeting what the belief is we have about ourselves or our world that's causing us to have to cope from that belief place to begin with.
Definitely, definitely. And another thing that I noticed in coaching people, it's they're not when they whatever they're doing, it's they're not aware. They're passing aware. They're there, but they're not there because they're thinking on the future and they're thinking on the past. Every time you're aware, you're present right here, right now, in the present. That's when you're truly you. That's when you're in a creating state, in a creating mode, instead of emergency mode and chaos mode. So like you said, looking things from the inside out. So how I can see what I need inside and manifest it outside instead of reacting on the world. Oh, everything is on fire. Let's get the water. We need that reaction. That's why our body create that. We need that because in case of emergency, we need that. um, but most of the time, especially in our amazing comfort life, we don't really need to react in emergency. When you're driving somebody cut your road, you need to be brave enough and aware enough to hit the brakes. But when you're in the creating mode, when you're sitting here thinking about your life, you don't need to extinguish any fire. You need to create the fire that will bring you to burn of you whatever you want to realize.
Absolutely. I love that. And I feel like it's, I know a lot of people have these thoughts where they're like, well, I don't know what that is for me. Like, I don't know when I get into my creative mode. I personally believe and I've worked with lots and lots of clients over the years, I have yet to see that somebody doesn't have that somewhere. And I think that sometimes we're not attuned enough to ourselves to see where that is. But I feel like, I know I can sit down with you and be so present because I love talking and I love connecting. I love sharing about personal growth
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think everybody has that mode, right? And like the things that we light up around are also telling us where we're most likely to be present or in flow. And for some people, it's in a social event with a ton of people. For other people, it's like, more intimate conversations talking about personal growth or connection. For some people, it's like playing a sport or, whatever it is. But I think we all have that place where we can access that. And I think that it's such a gift when we can realize that about ourselves and then design our lives accordingly.
yeah, yeah. And the good things that I have help a lot to people that can't see it. They can't. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't find a solution. I just want to remind all those people that probably listen right now that it's a journey. There's not a final destination. That's okay. If I'm A and I got to go to B, and that's the journey. I got to go. No, it's a constantly improving yourself to find yourself in the mean. You gotta think about as a radio frequency line. You an FM frequency, and you're trying to find the right tunes, tuning the station rate. You're trying to find your best jam so you can find yourself and dance to yourself. That's exactly what you're trying to do. Lower, go up and down. When you start to see too high and it's like too loud, it's a weird music. You gotta go down. Oh, that's too classic. That's too low. That's too. I want to find what's your music. But thinking of that, there's already creating one. So
Yeah.
you're already doing the job. It's almost like, oh, I can't find it. I was like, but the thinking, only thinking, trying to reach that, that's the creative mode. That's where, you know, you trying to express yourself. And all the symbols and the alarms that we just discussed before, that will help you tune where you want to go.
Yes, exactly. Those the alarms are like, this is the static frequency. Don't go there. Go away from that. I completely agree. And I think as well, you know, it's funny because you think of when we form relationships with people. So like let's say when you met your wife, right? And you're doing long distance and you have to ask her so many questions and get to know her and understand her. And it takes time to build that connection with somebody and to really deepen that closeness and that intimacy and it takes work. It's not, you don't just show up really connected and ready to get married. You have to
True.
ask many questions over time. And I think that sometimes we think that just because we've lived with ourselves our whole lives that we should just know, and if we just don't know, oh, okay, we're never going to know. We don't know our purpose, or we don't know, but maybe we haven't done the work necessary, right? Maybe we haven't gotten to really know ourselves and ask ourselves those deep questions, because maybe we're so busy all the time focusing on our external world and what people expect from us and our work and everything outside of ourselves. And sometimes we have to like actually ask ourselves questions the way we would when we're starting to date somebody. Like, what do I want? What is important to me? Like,
Yes.
and really sit with that stuff and explore ourselves. And that helps to create that more and more over time.
Definitely, definitely. At times it's our friend. I saw a lot of people that see times as almost a negative thing. Like, okay, I don't have a lot of time left. I'm 30 years old. I have like another 30 years to live, or 40 years to live. So I need to be millionaire now. I need to be successful now. I need to do it. But it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. A lot of people think that time is it's an enemy, you need to fight through time. Um, all my skin is getting older, I look older. It's not, it's a fight to get all as much as, skin products possible so you can fight the time. I think time, it's a huge, huge friend that they can help you understand where you're going. And taking your time depends on whatever it is. It could be a full life, it could be 1 minute. It doesn't matter, because time is something that we create to in our society. But in the universe, time doesn't really a thing.
Yeah.
Times can be nothing, especially the new generation that are used to very quick. You open a web page, or you ask Alexa, you have immediately information right away. I used to watch a movie, download it for 2 days, and then you can watch the movie. So for the new generation that's coming up, that everything is so quick, information is everything. It's very hard for them to see that times can be very helpful in slowing yourself to a rhythm that can be more aware instead of be fast as possible. I saw all this, young at 24 years old is a millionaire and now is living the lifestyle. So like, yes, but what about the journey? How you end up there? What's the fun? When I started the podcast, that's the beautiful journey I had in all this. It's not about me reaching a million listener in this podcast. No, it's how I started, me myself with my amazing, beautiful English, talking to people. And that's the journey. That's what it fascinated me. So creating and taking the time, that's because time is your friend. It's very important to know that.
Yeah, I love that. And I really agree with you that there's a lot in our world right now where we are on like fast forward. Like we're busy, we're get here, do that, all the pressure. And I personally believe that all the magic of life comes from when we actually do slow down. And to be perfectly honest, like that's something I still work on all the time, because we started an online business a few years ago, and it grew so fast, and now we have all, so many employees, and it's busy, busy, busy. And I'm constantly trying to go back and say, okay, get present, get connected, get grounded, go out in nature, because that's where the magic of life comes from. That's where all the creative ideas come from that lead to things that go well for you anyways, in my opinion. And so I completely agree. Like if we're always here in our mind instead of embodied, right? Like, because part of
Yeah,
being
yeah, yeah,
present
yeah.
in your body, right? Like those go hand in hand. And when we're here, like open the browser, download the movie, do the next thing, like what you were talking about, we're disconnected from our body. We're not like in ourselves, and we're not with ourselves.
You're
And it's being
reacting. Yeah.
with ourselves, exactly. And it's being in and with ourselves. And in that space that we create the things, that we align our lives with the things that matter to us, that we have the flow of getting everything to be just the way that we would hope it would be. Like that's where the magic comes from.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Thank you so much to be with me in this amazing little conversation. That was awesome. How people can reach you if you want to know more about your school, about your YouTube channels, what's the best way to see your work?
Yeah, so we have a YouTube channel. It's called Personal Development School dash Thais Gibson, and
Mhm.
so that is there. And I put out literally a video every single day. So there's daily videos there,
Oh,
lots of
wow.
content. Yeah, and I love creating. Honestly, I love sharing. So we do that. And then the other thing is we have an attachment style quiz. So if anybody, I know we didn't talk about attachment styles too much, but if anybody gets to the channel and sees a lot of that information there, and they're wondering what their attachment style is in relationships or anything like that, it's in the link, the description box of every single YouTube video, and you can click it, or you can just type in Personal Development School free attachment style test, and that also helps you to understand what your attachment style is and really come into alignment with some of your relationship and personal patterns too.
Yeah, but because definitely we were discussing a little bit early, it's all about relationship. Any relationship um, around you. It could be your spouse, could be your friends, could be your children. So, in very very quick, what's that program about it? Because I really want to go on the website now.
Yeah, so the attachment style stuff basically has to do with that we all have an attachment style in relationships. And you can think of your attachment style as sort of like your love style, like how you'll show up with the people you love. And yes, obviously it's your romantic relationships, but it's also your friendships, your family relationships, like everybody around you. And so, we have four different ones, and I'll just go through them at a very high level because there's a lot of
Yeah, yeah,
information.
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
But we have our secure attachment style, who tends to have a lot of secure modeling for their childhood. So they grow up in a pretty secure home, a lot of stability. As a byproduct of that, they naturally trust people better and communicate their needs more easily because they see a lot of that. And then we have our three insecure attachment styles, and one is called the anxious preoccupied. And this one is somebody who in, in relationships can feel really anxious and can fear abandonment. And usually it's because they either had a lot of inconsistency in childhood that caused them to feel like a perceived abandonment, or they had in their childhood some kind of real abandonment, like maybe a parent left, or there was a bad divorce, or things like that. And then we have our dismissive avoidant, who is the person who tends to fear commitment the most. They tend to be a little bit emotionally shut off, really emotionally disconnected from themselves. And so, of course, as we're talking about today, the more disconnected we are from ourselves, the more that we have a hard time connecting to other people and having that same emotional bandwidth for them. And so they will tend to need a lot of time and space and independence. And then last but not least, we have a fearful avoidant, who tends to have a little bit of trauma in childhood, maybe, generally more so than the other attachment styles. And so they won't really trust people too easily. They can be very hot and cold. They can be very touch
Hmm.
and go. They can give a lot of mixed signals in relationships because they kind of feel confused within themselves about what they want and if they can trust and if they can let their guard down while kind of wanting love and connection at the same time. So, a lot of what that whole thing unpacks is how to understand your own subconscious programs and how to understand the relationship to yourself. And that attachment style quiz that I was mentioning, if people just go take the quiz, they can learn all about that, and they can see as well like what their partner and loved ones are. And it can give a lot of insight into where there might be challenges or pain points, because if you have somebody who's really anxious and they're dating somebody who's really commitment fearing and avoidant, I mean, of course, there's going to be lots of challenges, right?
There's got to
So,
be a lot of challenge, but how
exactly.
this program can help them understand who he's around them, or can help them maybe find a common ground so their relationship can work.
Yeah, great question. It helps them find a common ground for sure, so that their relationship can work. But
Hmm.
ultimately, the real goal is that we heal our attachment style, because
Okay.
just like, we come into the world and we may not grow up in a secure family, but we can grow up and we can become secure by learning the right tools, the right way to communicate, understanding our needs better, reprogramming our fears, right? These limiting beliefs we have about, oh, everybody will abandon me, everybody will betray me, or, I can't be open and vulnerable because I'm weak if I am like that. We all have these different beliefs, and it helps us really find out what those are and rewire them so that we can become the securely attached style, and we can actually most so heal the relationship to ourselves first. And of course, that then impacts the relationships we have to others.
Yeah, definitely. And I have an idea who I am to do, many, many years of a journey, but I definitely want to do this quiz now. I'm very triggered and very excited about it. And it can be an easy way to start a journey. Start a journey that can bring you more who you really are and what's your purpose here.
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much. It was so nice speaking with you. I really appreciate being here, and it was lots of fun to chat and connect over all these topics.
Definitely we will connect. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on next episode.